Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Passive Buddies podcast. And today we are going to cover something I think is very, very important for new entrepreneurs, new people in the online world, because it isn't always rosy, is it? So how do you handle a bad start to your entrepreneurship life? I have got my great co-host here today. I've got Brandon Duff, and we're going to talk about obviously what went wrong for us and how we've sort of like come up it and how every time we launch something, it gets a little bit easier. Brandon, how are you?
I am doing amazing. I have my coffee. I'm here with you. Life is good. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Weather's not too bad. It's a little bit rainy, but that's just a simple thing in the UK. But no, mate, I'm excited. Obviously, I know by the time this gets released, obviously it would have passed, but it's my kids' sports day tomorrow. The first one I get to actually watch, obviously because of COVID. So super excited for that. The two older ones will be, as long as the weather holds off, the two older ones will be competing in sports day, and I get to actually watch it for the first time. Thanks to COVID not being a thing. They're 7 and 4.
Wow, we don't have any kids. I'm much older than you, I think, by maybe like a decade. But
you're not that old, are you?
I'm 36, I think.
I'm only 30.
Okay, so nice. Half a decade. So you just look younger, I guess.
Do you know what? That never gets said, so I'll fucking take it. It must be this camera.
But yeah, man, I remember starting my one of my businesses back maybe a year ago. No, not that long. Probably like 4 years ago. And before I was a personal trainer. So I didn't really, it was just a blue collar, maybe white collar company. So I actually started a company called the Pink Collar Millionaire, which is more of a service-based. I guess Pink Collar is more service-based, and it flopped, and it didn't go anywhere. I was like, I thought this creative name was so good, and yeah, it wasn't a good thing at all. But what about you? What like mess ups have you had in your entrepreneur journey?
So my first one was offline, and I was about 19 at the time when I started my first business. 19, 20? Yeah. And what I've done is I created a sports development company because I was always coaching. And I was always coaching in schools, and literally the UK had just give a government grant out. So obviously all schools, all primary age, so like 4 to 11-year-olds. And the grant was obviously to get more kids into sport and all this. So obviously there was a great opportunity for coaches to actually coach in schools, which was happening anyway, and basically to teach PE, so the physical education. So I got my local schools who agreed to hire me. So I put this proposal together in a nice fancy like booklet, and I got it. Like, she hired me. I was like, yes. My biggest mistake was understanding business math.
And what do you mean?
So what I was charging per hour was so cheap, it covered me and my time only. No overheads, like no like anything, no profit. It was just, if I wasn't working, I weren't making money. So I basically created a job. So don't get me wrong, it didn't take me long to realize that. So like obviously I was coaching and like I didn't understand lead generation and all these things, and I must have folded that business within about 4 months. Gone.
Oh wow.
I was like, no. I was like, everything was just stacked up against me. Like obviously the pricing was crap, but obviously I was now stuck in a position where I was delivering the job, so I couldn't even get someone to deliver the job, take a small profit. I was living at home. I didn't need that much. I couldn't even get someone in because obviously I wouldn't make no money, which meant I couldn't go and do any lead generation for other schools. The time for hiring those companies was sort of like the summer before the start of term. So I've missed that window of opportunity to do the lead gen, and it was just like, no. So I actually, my first business tanked in 4 months.
Well, I mean, at least you knew that it wasn't profitable and you did something that you could essentially get out of. You didn't get over leveraged like we talked about in the last episode. So if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely check that episode out where you talk about good debt and bad debt. But you didn't get any bad debt. You didn't really create any kind of headaches, right?
Yeah, apart from like the only headache I had was telling the teacher that, or the head teacher that had hired me, that I was literally leaving. I was quitting and I was going. And she was fuming. Like she'd literally not long been in this school, and this was like the first major thing she was doing was bringing me in, and obviously to take PE, and it wasn't working. So I had to obviously go and like tell her it wasn't happening. She was fuming, so now she looks bad. And ironically, it was my kid's school, so the kids weren't there at this time. Obviously, I was only 19. But just as my eldest was starting to come to school age, and it was like, right, you're going to end up at the same school as this teacher does not like me. Thankfully, she left. I hope she's doing well, like, but thankfully she left, so that removed the awkwardness. But yeah, like that was the only bad thing, like that, and I had to admit defeat, which I'm not really good at. Like, I don't like losing. I don't like admitting defeat. I don't like being wrong. So yeah, like having to admit defeat quite early on that the business that was going to be the best thing ever wasn't, was a little bit disappointing.
Well, and that was your profession, right? Like that was, you did that, you played that sport, you did sports all your life, and it was something that you were very passionate about. So I can see you being very upset that you had to kind of give up that business.
Yeah, it was frustrating because like at the end of the day, like even like we went to like various events as coaches and stuff, and I was literally labeled as one of the best coaches in my area, like my county. So it was pretty big, and I was top 100 in the whole of the country.
Nice.
So I was like supposed to be like one of the next big things coming through. But the one thing I didn't know was obviously I was great at the profession, I could do the job, but like most people, I didn't know business. And that was the killer, like learning like that baptism of fire into the whole like marketing, sales, operations, fulfillment scenario. Like that was, I thought I'd just go in and do some coaching to get some money, and obviously long and behold it's not like that. As you start a business, you very rarely do the thing that you actually started your business for, because everything else takes over.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I would guess you had some amazing learning lessons. I mean, it wasn't really, I like to say you don't really lose, you only learn, because you learned about a valuable lesson, like that you need to be paid a lot more than what you think you do, because your time is valuable. You also need to be able to have enough money coming in where that you can then outsource it, because you're able to buy other people's time versus you working in the business. You can now work on the business, which is super important. And then obviously you learned other things like that you were the best in the county. Maybe you could have taken that and been like, hey, these are what the numbers show. What do you think about increasing my pay or something to that extent? Because then you're able to leverage the numbers that are facts. And so, all sorts of things that I'm sure, learned. What other lessons did you learn?
What other lessons that I learned? That business is hard work.
It is.
And this was obviously, I was so young, obviously learning all these things, compared to like everyone that I knew at that time was still in uni. Like they were still doing the whole get drunk, obviously most days, and then just rock up to class and do a bit of memory retention, like which is basically what it is. And I was like there, obviously I was talking to head teachers, like I was talking to I was dealing with kids, I was dealing with parents. And business is the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most rewarding. And that's why, although I went into corporate after that, I went and got myself a job. Like I had a bit of a panic attack at 22, not a massive one, but I just knew I was going to be a parent soon without planning it.
Yeah.
Like something inside just went, listen, I was like, you're 22. I was like, you're going to be a dad soon. I was like, and we weren't planning it. Like Kirsty was only 19 at the time. So there was no like things like ideas like to plan it. And literally within a month of me starting corporate, she was pregnant.
Wow.
And I was on a really good rate. So I was like, I just knew at 22, I was like, I have to get my shit together. I was like, you need to earn good money. So I went and chased the money instead. But it never ever stopped me wanting to be back in business. So she'd done the whole corporate thing, sorted obviously like the roof over the head, the kids and all that. And obviously we kept on having kids. But then it was a case of, back to business.
That's so cool. We're trying right now, so I'll be 36, maybe 37, who knows, when we have kids. So a little bit different than 22, but I'm sure you've learned a lot from business and from being a dad.
Oh yeah, it definitely incentivizes the situation. Like I do not know how I've still got all this hair. Like I should be gray. Like I should like have none. Obviously my whole 20s was dedicated to being a dad and being creating a business. So it's just like it's been intense and it's hard. Like, and as you say, like how do you get up from those entrepreneurial like knockbacks? Because they happen. Like to the biggest and the best, those entrepreneurship knockbacks happen. So what advice would you give someone like to bounce back?
Yeah, I think it's just like anything. Like you don't learn to run before you walk. You don't learn to walk before you crawl. And it's just learning opportunities along the way. When you like get knocked down, you're supposed to get back up again. And it's just, I mean, in the grand scheme of things in just life, you're going to lose a lot more than you win. And the win is what kind of just washes away all the losses. So if you're consistently losing, and the more often that you can lose, they're all learning opportunities. And you take those learning opportunities, you compound them, and then you make wins. And you can create a formula where you're now able to really just create consistent wins in your business, because you've done all the time in a sense, and had all the knockdowns and had all the fails and all the little mishaps that happen, that you can take that, and now you've learned all those school of hard knocks and leverage them in your business. And you pretty much are able to take that and consistently grow what you know is a winning formula, and use that to consistently win every single day. Because like, for instance, when I was a personal trainer, I didn't know how to do lead generation. I didn't know how to do social media, or all the things like mobile apps and stuff. I use that a lot in my business, and I've kind of created a persona in my fitness industry. And then I took that and I rolled it into the online space. And my persona in fitness was one, and now like or branding rather. And my branding in online space is much different. I look like Mr. Monopoly in my social media, all my social media stuff. And so that's because of real estate, and it allowed me to create a brand in the online industry, and I created a brand in the fitness industry. I learned social media through personal training, and I used a lot of the same tactics, some of the same tactics in the online space. And then getting into like Clickfunnels and joining a mentorship program, or having a mentor, and learning how to do like really the funnel building, all that. I've never really, I've said this in a previous podcast, but I've only taken like one like online course, which was One Funnel Away Challenge. And so, and if you guys don't use a type of CRM tool, definitely check out down below. Brian has an amazing tool called Clickfunnels that he uses. So definitely check that out. And I'm sure he'll link the One Funnel Away Challenge. Also, if you have not done that challenge, I definitely highly recommend it, because it allowed me to learn the online space and understand a lot of how people price things. And I didn't know how to do that. And luckily I did pretty well, but I also didn't do that well in a few things, like funnel building and all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's just taking, you're going to lose a lot more, and you have to be okay with losing. Because if you're okay with losing and you can consistently get up, and keep trying different things and keep evolving, you're going to do well. And it's going to outpace, your wins are going to outpace all your losses.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, like obviously the only difference between like obviously, for instance, sports and entrepreneurship, like, is you can get to do a lot of those losing behind closed doors. like obviously on the training pitch, like with no cameras watching, with no like, obviously you get to do the losing there. You get to put that practice in, take those penalties, take those shots, like with the no pressure. So when you do step out into people to see you do it, yeah, obviously you will convert, like you will score, you will succeed, but that gives a false perception of people like in other worlds, like, oh, they're just always so successful. They're not. It's everything that goes on behind the scenes that allows you to be successful on the forefront. Entrepreneurship, it's not so lucky, like, because you have to put your business out there in order to be found, in order to be sold. And if it doesn't go well, then obviously some people may remember obviously your past failures, but that does not define you. Like how you obviously, you have to keep going, keep learning, keep putting those things in. So when it is successful, like those are the things that people will remember. But if you quit, you will never get to that stage. Like the only time you actually fail is when you stop trying.
Right. Yeah, that's totally true. And I think it's similar. I love that analogy of sports because I mean, for us, I mean, they don't see all the books that we read versus they don't see us all the trying of different email tactics or lead generation or YouTube videos that we watch or the masterminds we've gone to or all these different things that are kind of out of sight, out of mind. Everyone posts that iceberg photo where it's like you see like the nice house and the fancy car and all these things, but you don't see the grind and the late nights and the studying and the masterminds and the meetups and the podcasts and all the other stuff below the surface that people are doing. And it's just like you said, like with sports, you don't see Michael Jordan who would wake up super early and take millions of shots every single year so that when he did come to play on the court, he could hit those shots consistently and people thought he was just amazing. And he is amazing. He's like one of the best sports players of all time, but people just don't see the everyday grind that entrepreneurs do. And if you're able to just get up from falling down every single time, then you're gonna do great things.
Absolutely love it. And it's right, isn't it? It's like you have to, like, you don't stop. Like obviously, if you stopped as a kid, like it is within you. And I said this on another podcast. It is within you to keep going. Because if you fell down as learning to walk as a toddler and you never ever got back up, then you never learned to walk. But you didn't. You got up and you tried again. You got up and you tried again. Same with talking. You carried on learning trying to talk until you mastered it. Like we are ingrained to not give up. It's the social pressure that thinks, we just forget it. Like you are a warrior. You can go and work it. Just keep going because it's within you to do so. Like get back up, learn your lesson and go again.
Love it. I mean, I have nothing else to add because that was amazing. That was like a motivational speech right there.
Guys, if you have been tuning in, thank you so much for watching right to the end. And obviously like, subscribe, follow, depending on what platform you're on. And we will see you on the next episode.
Peace.